In 1886, surveyors from the railroad laid down tracks across the Texas plains and planted a sign for a brand new town. They called it Gerald. But when the residents applied for a post office a few years later, the U.S. government rejected their paperwork. Another Texas town already claimed the name Gerald. Forced to rebrand, the community adopted the name of W.A. Ponder, a prominent banker from nearby Denton. To understand why a town would let a railroad dictate its existence, you have to look at the decades before the trains arrived. Back in the 1850s, pioneers like Silas Crystal were trying to survive here by grinding corn with an ox-driven mill. They were fighting the specific geography of the Grand Prairie. The region sits on deep clay subsoil, locked together by dense interwoven prairie grass roots. Tilling this land required heavy, specialized steel plows just to break the surface. Extracting a living from that soil was a grinding, physical battle. Without a massive industrial catalyst to move goods and bring in heavy equipment, the settlement was destined to remain a scattering of isolated farms. That catalyst arrived in the form of the Gulf, Colorado, and Santa Fe Railway. The railway company had a very specific strategic goal. They needed a direct line connecting the booming commercial hub of Fort Worth straight north into Indian Territory, which is modern-day Oklahoma. They purchased a right-of-way right through the community and laid out a strict mathematical blueprint for the new town, plotting exactly 20 blocks. When the first passenger train pulled into the station in 1887, the frontier era of western Denton County was over. A massive logistics network now physically linked this isolated patch of prairie to the national economy. The railroad dictated how the town functioned, slicing the 20-block grid in half. The east side was for heavy industry, the railway depot, cotton gin, and rodeo arena. The west side became the commercial core, housing Skaggs store, homes, schools, and churches. This highly organized layout worked perfectly. It efficiently processed the region's agricultural output and rapidly generated local wealth, culminating in the construction of the town's financial crown jewel in 1908, the Ponder State Bank. But concentrating wealth in a rural brick building came with extreme risks during the 1920s and 30s, a period when a massive wave of bank robberies swept across the Texas plains. The Ponder State Bank became a high-value target. In 1932, a sophisticated gang, including Eddie Bentz and Machine Gun Kelly, orchestrated a devastating raid, walking away with $70,000 in cash and bonds. That high-profile heist set a persistent local myth that Bonnie and Clyde also robbed the town. The historical reality is slightly different. It was actually Raymond Hamilton, a known associate of the Barrow Gang, who targeted the bank in 1934. And Hamilton's attempt ended in historical irony. He showed up to rob the vault, only to discover the institution had completely failed and closed its doors a week earlier. This deep well of outlaw lore eventually caught the attention of Hollywood. In 1966, a production crew arrived in Ponder to film scenes for the iconic movie Bonnie and Clyde, using the actual original bank building on Bailey Street. Machine Gun Kelly and Hollywood movie stars generated the sensational headlines, but the town itself was held together by the quiet daily resilience of the people actually living there. In 1939, a group of locals established the Ponder Rodeo as a grassroots survival tactic for the town's morale. The labor was entirely volunteer. In their spare time, residents gathered in the old cotton yards on the east side of the tracks and built the arena by hand. It also functioned as a unique economic engine for the community. The local Parent-Teacher Association ran the concession stands, and they used those profits to directly pay the salaries of the town's public school teachers. After World War II, the event exploded in popularity. By 1948, a town with a total population of just 250 people was hosting 35,000 spectators over the course of the summer. The rodeo proved that Ponder could achieve massive results through shared labor and community investment. That same community-driven success defined the town's final cultural pillar. In 1951, a woman named Grace Pete Jackson took her profitable grocery store lunch counter and expanded it next door, opening the legendary Ranchman's Cafe. Operating out of a small, shotgun-style building, the steakhouse achieved national fame, drawing in massive cultural icons and celebrities like John Wayne for a chicken fried steak. Since the 1850s, the community has broken impenetrable clay soil, weathered name changes, and rebuilt after school fires to maintain its own local businesses and traditions. The Santa Fe Railway drew the borders of Ponder, But the unrelenting grit of its pioneers and community organizers ensured the town was never erased from the map.